My name is Tommy. I am 19 years old, and I want to tell you about a Friday night when I was bored and lonely and decided to open Omegle for the first time. I thought I would meet some random people, kill a few hours, go to bed. Instead, I watched something happen on a screen that I still cannot fully explain to myself. Subscribe before we get into this. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and keep the lights on. Let me give you the context first because the context matters. I was in my first year of college studying industrial engineering when the pandemic hit and moved everything online. I had just enrolled. I had just started meeting people. And then overnight, all of it moved to a screen, and the campus I had been so excited about became a building I drove past on my way to the grocery store. Most of my lectures were on Zoom. I would sit at my desk in my apartment and watch my professor talk into a camera, and I would take notes and do the work and get the grades. It was fine academically. Socially, it was isolating in a way I had not expected and did not have a great way to address. I heard about Omegle the way most people my age had heard about it. The platform had been around for years and had a reputation that was simultaneously trashy and weirdly compelling. Random video connections with strangers anywhere in the world. No accounts, no history, no commitment. You pressed a button and someone appeared. If you did not like them, you pressed the button again and someone else appeared. It had the reputation of being mostly weird, occasionally interesting, sometimes genuinely funny. On a Friday evening in my apartment, I poured a drink and opened it on my laptop. For the first half hour, it was exactly what I expected. Random strangers doing random things. People doing bits for their own entertainment. People trying to get a reaction. People who hit the skip button before I could get a word out. The kind of content that confirmed the platform's reputation without quite living up to either its best or worst version of itself. Then a man appeared on my screen who was wearing Joker makeup. Not a cheap Halloween version, something more careful than that. White base coat, precise green detail around the eyes, a red smile that extended beyond the natural corners of his mouth. Dark clothing. Sitting in a room that was dim enough that I could not make out anything specific behind him. The camera quality was decent. The makeup was detailed. He had put genuine effort into how he looked. He did not speak. He did not move. He just looked at the camera. I said hey and nothing happened. I said hello and he did not respond. I looked at my screen for a moment, trying to determine if the connection had frozen. It had not frozen. He was breathing slightly. His eyes were tracking. I typed into the chat that I did not think his microphone was working. He typed back immediately. He said, "All I have are negative thoughts." I laughed. I typed back something about why so serious, the obvious Joker reference. I was treating this as exactly what it looked like on the surface. A guy doing a bit, a committed bit with good makeup, and a commitment to the character. He typed, "Pick a card." He held up a deck of cards toward the camera. Standard deck, no visible modification. He fanned them out with his face turned slightly away from the screen, as if he was not watching which card I named. I said any card out loud, then typed it. I said the 7 of diamonds. I do not know why I said that specific card. It was just what came out. He collected the deck. He shuffled it with the unhurried confidence of someone who had done it 10,000 times. He spread it, cut it, riffled it. Then he stopped. He reached into the deck and turned a card toward the camera. 7 of diamonds. I was genuinely impressed. I told him so. I typed asking how he did that, and he typed back that if I wanted to see the real trick, I had to beat him in a staring contest first. I said fine. He unmuted his microphone. I heard ambient noise come through the low background sound of a room that confirmed it was a real space. Then he leaned close to the camera and we started the contest. His eyes were open and completely still in a way that was difficult to look at. Most people blink within the first 15 or 20 seconds of a staring contest, because the reflex is essentially involuntary. He did not blink. He held eye contact with the camera with a stillness that I eventually registered as wrong before I understood why it was wrong. It was the eyes combined with the smile. The smile was too wide, not artificially extended by expression, but actually wide in the structural sense, as if the muscles involved were doing something they were not designed to do. And he was maintaining it without apparent effort. No trembling at the corners. No sign of strain. I looked away first. He typed, "I win." Then before I had responded or done anything, he reached off screen and came back with something in his hand. A kitchen knife. He placed his left hand flat on the table in front of him, fingers spread. He held the knife above it. He looked at the camera. I said, "What are you doing?" And he typed back something about the next part of the trick. He was fast. Extremely fast. The knife moved between his fingers in the game you probably know from seeing it, the one where the blade comes down and the gaps between the spread fingers in sequence. He was doing it faster than I had ever seen anyone do it. And I was watching through a video connection on a laptop screen at some level of compression and latency, and it still looked real in a way that was hard to dismiss as a camera trick. He stopped. He looked at the camera. He typed that next time he would do it blindfolded. I should have closed the laptop at that point. I did not close the laptop. I told him he did not have to do that. He typed back that he wanted to. He said he would mute the microphone first so that if something went wrong, I would not have to hear it. He reached off screen and adjusted something. He held up a blindfold toward the camera to show me what he was going to use. He tied it over his eyes. He settled his right hand on the knife. He settled his left hand flat on the table. I said, "Stop." I typed it. I said it out loud to an empty apartment. He did not stop. Then after a moment, he did stop. He went still. He reached up and removed the blindfold slowly. He looked at the camera for a moment. Then he turned the camera. He had not been using his own hand. I am going to tell you what I saw because I think you need to know exactly what was on that screen. And because the specific detail at the end of what I saw is the part I have never been able to explain away. There was a person in the room with him, a young man, duct tape across his mouth. His left hand was flat on the table. His eyes were wide above the tape, and he was shaking with a sustained full-body trembling that communicates a specific kind of terror. The Joker looked at the camera. Then he zoomed in on the man's hand. Carved into the palm in cuts that were clearly deliberate were a number and a symbol, 7, in the shape of a diamond. I screamed at my screen. I told him I was calling the police. I slammed the laptop shut. I sat in my apartment for a long time after that. My hands were not steady. I turned on every light in the apartment. I called a friend and talked to them for 2 hours without telling them what I had seen because I did not know how to explain it. I did call a non-emergency police line. I explained what I had seen. The officer took the basic information. Omegle connections are not tracked. There was no account, no username, no location data I could provide. There was nothing to trace. The call was noted, and that was all. I have thought about this many times since. There are a few possible explanations that I have gone back and forth between. The first is that everything was staged, that the person with the duct tape across their mouth was a willing participant in an elaborate bit designed to produce exactly the reaction it produced in me, that the carvings on the palm were temporary tattoos or makeup, that the trembling was performed, that the whole thing was a very committed and well-executed piece of performance art designed to terrorize a random stranger on Omegle for whatever satisfaction that provides. That explanation is possible. It is probably the most likely explanation. The second explanation is that it was not staged. I go back and forth on which one I actually believe. What I keep coming back to is the 7 of diamonds. That he chose that card before any of the rest of it happened, that I named it myself spontaneously without any guidance or prompting, That a card trick designed to deliver a specific card could be engineered in many ways, but that the version of the trick where the card gets carved into a person's hand requires knowing the card before you carve. He either knew what I was going to say before I said it, or he had a way of ensuring I said it, or he had someone in that room whose hand he was willing to carve, regardless of what card I named, and he altered the carving after the fact while the camera was off. None of those explanations sit cleanly. I deleted Omegle from my browser history the same night. I have not opened it since. I have not talked about this in detail to many people because the conversation tends to go in one of two directions. Either people do not believe me or they want to know details I am not comfortable giving. The thing about Omegle is that it was designed around the premise of anonymity and disconnection. No history, no accountability, no way to find out who you were just connected to or where they were. That design is what made it feel harmless and low stakes. You could close the tab and whoever you had been looking at was gone. The problem with that design is that it works both ways. The person on the other end of your connection cannot find you, but you also cannot find them. What happens in those connections stays in those connections. There is no record, no report, no follow-up. If what I saw was real, nobody helped that person. I did not know where they were. The police did not know where they were. The platform does not log connections. I sat in my apartment and turned on all the lights and called a friend and talked about nothing for 2 hours and went to sleep. And somewhere a joker with careful makeup and a kitchen knife either went to bed having successfully scared a college freshman on a Friday night or did not. I genuinely do not know which one. I still do not know. And I think about the 7 of diamonds sometimes. How it was just the first thing I said. How specific it is. How it got there before I did. I do not have an explanation for that part. If you have one, I would genuinely like to hear it.